This is exactly what Vikings fans want to hear as Kevin O'Connell drops multiple critical updates to kick off Week 12 prep that will require all hands on deck against the Packers, as well as how the Vikings can exploit and expose the Cheeseheads at Lambeau on Sunday afternoon. We're going to break down all that in this episode of Vikings Digest, but first, if you're a part of the 82% of viewers who are not yet subscribed to the channel and you want to stay up to date on all things Vikings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the episodes when they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into the first topic of the day, which is Kelly's early return. So Kevin O'Connell had a press conference earlier today, and he touched on the injury updates to Jonathan Greenard and Ryan Kelly, and we're going to jump right into what he had to say here, saying that Jonathan Greenard will work off to the side of the field today, and we'll update you guys on kind of where he's at moving into tomorrow and Friday, and then Ryan Kelly should be a full participant. So obviously Jonathan Greenard might not be available for that game on Sunday against the Packers, but it seems like Ryan Kelly is going to be back a week earlier than planned, saying that the plan more so than the 21 days was the time from when we put him on IR to when we activated that window opening up, of just making sure that we had exhausted the required time to where Ryan was essentially banging down the door to get back out on the field. And then we wanted to let him get through a full practice week, or at least build up to the type of work that would allow him to feel really good coming into this week, and to hopefully then have another good week. And then we can make a determination later on this week. So that is going to be a big one for the Vikings, getting a guy like Ryan Kelly back, getting your veteran center back so that JJ McCarthy can have a fully healthy offensive line for the first time this season. We're going to get into where that could get a little bit of a bump in the road there later on this video. But seemingly on paper, if Ryan Kelly is back this week and Will Fries can play, which he was limited and did not practice today at practice for the Vikings, but if we can have all these guys ready to go on Sunday against the Packers, that's going to be huge going up against a team like them that is battling a lot of injuries right now in the early part of the week. But with this, if JJ McCarthy has all that protection, we might be able to see him start to get into a flow a little bit easier. I know there's been a lot of criticism about him with like the whole alter ego with 9 and all that stuff, and how he doesn't really turn into that guy until it's crunch time and when it matters most in the clutch. It's just a matter of getting that guy out of the shell a lot earlier in the game and making sure that he can play over 4 quarters instead of just 1 or just 2 minutes of 1 quarter in a game. And when you look at the games that he's played well in, mainly that Detroit game, what was the main thing that happened early on in that game? They scored a touchdown early. As a young quarterback, scoring first and early is critical towards gaining your confidence and your momentum throughout the rest of the game. If Ryan Kelly is back on the field serving as center, that's going to be huge for JJ. I know the offensive line has played fairly decent through the past couple of games as they've been getting more and more healthy and getting these pieces back. But if you have a team where you can have all 5 of these guys ready that you have been waiting to see all season, and we're in week 12, the first time that we could potentially see all 5 of these guys on the field at the same time, that is going to be huge in a divisional game where if we can win this game, we're 3-1 in the division. We're still in it. We may not be at 500. We'll be 5-6 if we win this game, but at least we'll be 3-1 in the division, and then in a division where it might come down to the final week of the season with the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears, and it's going to be interesting to see. We know the Bears are going to fall off like they usually do. We know the Lions have a little bit of an identity crisis going on right now with their play calling, whether it's John Morton or Dan Campbell. They got to figure something out there, so hopefully those troubles continue. And then you have Green Bay on their side of things with their injury issues and also their play calling, so that's going to be a way for Minnesota to exploit that, but we're going to get to that in a second. As Kevin O'Connell had a little bit more to say on Ryan Kelly's return. He says, I think Sunday will have been 8 weeks since the Pittsburgh game, how we talked earlier about the timeline sort of thing. So I feel like there's been the proper amount of time. We've taken a look at every layer of equipment. Probably going to see him wearing a Guardian cap. I believe he's got a different helmet, which Vikings fans are going to love to hear, because Guardian caps, we've seen how they might look a little bit ridiculous, but if you're a player like Ryan Kelly who's had a lot of conkies in his career, you absolutely need something like that to limit as much of an injury risk as possible. And that's kind of what Kevin O'Connell said. He says you're trying to do all the things that you can to make sure you eliminate any of the controllables. And then this game is what it is, which is a very physical game, a very rough game, and one where that's going to be something where is you can limit that with a Guardian cap. It's going to be big, especially for Ryan Kelly, where we were worried that he might not even play football again again after the injury that he sustained. So that is going to be huge for him towards staying healthy for the rest of the season and hopefully into next season so that he can endure a longer end of his career and not have to retire early and can stay on the Minnesota Vikings serving as a veteran center, because veteran centers are really hard to come by and you usually have to pay a very pretty penny for them. But let us know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below, and if you think Ryan Kelly will play on Sunday, and how much do you think that helps our chances against this Packers team, or do you think that no matter what we're screwed, as I know a lot of Vikings fans are a little bit doom and gloom right now. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. That's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is exploiting the Packers. I know that the Packers seem like a team that on paper there's not a lot to exploit. However, when you look at Minnesota's injury report, you have there's some DNPs there where Will Fries didn't practice today. Jonathan Grenard was off to the side. Hopefully Will Fries is going to be able to be ready to go, because that seems like the only injury that we were kind of expecting, or we're kind of like wondering heading into this week. Jonathan Grenard, we're kind of expecting him to be out for this game. But if Will Fries isn't ready to go, that's going to be a big blow. But if he is ready to go, then we finally see this offensive line fully healthy. Darisaw was full practice. Aaron Jones was a full practice. So that's awesome after he was questionable all week last week. But when you look at the Green Bay Packers side of things, it is a laundry list of injuries that you have there where, yes, there's a lot of limited practices. But when you look at the DNPs there, you have Josh Jacobs as the biggest one and Quay Walker as well. So if Quay Walker doesn't play, that's a big linebacking blow to their middle core, where TJ Hawkinson can take advantage of that, as well as Aaron Jones and some checkdowns. And JJ McCarthy was scrambling a little bit, and I know Rashawn Gary can be scary, and Michael Parsons is going to set that edge, but it still gives us a bigger boost and a better chance at trying to do something offensively. And then Josh Jacobs, of course, not being in the game. We kind of have been expecting this all week, and this is going to be huge for Minnesota because they're not going to have one of the best running backs in football on the field for the Packers, so they're going to have to go to Emmanuel Wilson. He was pretty solid last week, but they were playing against the Giants. We have a much better rush defense, and we limited Kyle Monangai really well, and he's an RB2. He did score a touchdown on us, but we were able to contain DeAndre Swift, and we were able to contain him as well to a lot less yards than most people would have expected. And our run defense has done really well, so that's going to be a big thing towards stopping these guys. Christian Watson was limited. Luke Van Ness was limited. Some of these guys were getting a little bit of rest in there as well. But this is huge for Minnesota, where if we can go into Lambeau against a decimated Packers team, I know injuries suck. We never want to see players get hurt. But if this is something where the Packers unfortunately have a lot of guys sitting out this game or just aren't at 100%, that is where Minnesota can swoop in, as they are nearly fully healthy. The only gap that we're really going to have seemingly is Jonathan Grenard and potentially Will Fries. So if we are basically fully healthy against a Packers team that might not even be 70% healthy with all the names that you saw on that list, that is a huge boost for Minnesota in a road division game in a very tough climate where the weather is really starting to take a turn for the worse here. We saw how the wind really affected a lot of teams last week, where there was a lot of missed extra points and a lot of missed field goals in those outdoor games because of the wind that was rolling through the Midwest last week. But this could be huge for Minnesota, where it's all going to come down to the final week of the season for this division. If Minnesota goes in, they get a win. We're 3-1 in the division. Would have been nice to be going in this game already 3-0 in the division with a chance to go 4-0 in the division. However, the cards are what they are. We got to play the hand that we're dealt. So now Minnesota can go in there, go up 3-1 in the division. You're 5-6 on the season. It really kind of shows that the Vikings are still kind of in it as long as they can get JJ McCarthy and this team very consistent and really clicking. That is going to be the biggest thing. We know the defense is going to keep us in these games. So I feel confident that no matter what offense we're going up against, I feel good about our chances. We saw what our defense was able to do against the Baltimore Ravens. Against the Eagles, they struggled a little bit, but outside of only a couple plays, really, the defense really held their own, and it was penalties that really shot us in the foot. In most of the games here where we've played against some really good offenses, we've done really good job at limiting them. Caleb Williams has been balling out this year against a lot of teams, and we limited him as well on defense. So the big thing for the Vikings this week and this whole season, of course, has been offense and JJ McCarthy. So if they can take advantage of a decimated Packers offense on the defensive side of the ball, take a little bit of pressure off of JJ, and they can take advantage of a potentially decimated defense as well, especially in the linebacking core, that is also going to help JJ and establish the run game, which the Vikings were able to do a little bit last week. They were able to run the ball a little bit better, but now we can see them run the ball and as well as pass the ball, hopefully, if the Packers don't have as many players clicking or healthy or at 100% or potentially not playing. But let us know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below, about what you think about the injury report being an indictment of our chances in this game if the Packers don't have a lot of players ready to go. And what do you think about the Ryan Kelly situation as well as Jonathan Grenard? Let us know down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.